Building a portfolio with Fidelity Basket Portfolios is kind of like making a sandwich. It's as simple as picking your stocks and ETFs, sort of like your meats and other topics, and managing it as one big, juicy investment. Now that's pretty good. Learn more at fidelity.com/baskets. Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC. Member NYSE SIPC.
Every cup of Nespresso coffee is an invitation to transform your morning routine into a ritual you can treasure each and every day. Using the Virtuo Pup, a simple touch of the button freshly brews bold aromas and a rich, velvety crema layer for delicious cafe-quality coffee at home. Whether you enjoy your coffee hot or over ice, every sip, every morning is unforgettable. Nothing tastes like Nespresso coffee. Visit Nespresso.com or our app to explore our full range of easy-to-use machines and coffees not found anywhere else.
So good, so good, so good.
Get ready, because it's time to save at your Nordstrom Rack store. Now through February 23rd, take an extra 40% off red tag clearance boots, jackets, and sweaters. We're talking the best cold weather styles from Vince, Cole Haan, Sam Edelman, and more. All on sale for even less. All sales final. You never know what you'll find, but you know it's gonna be so good. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Michael Bauer, and joining me tonight is one of our Dynasty Rewind contributors. This is Josh Hoff. You could find him typically doing some behind-the-scenes stuff on the Patreon. He does have a Patreon bonus podcast, typically focusing on college, C2C type stuff. So if you want to find his work, like again, on our Patreon, patreon.com/Dynasty Rewind, you get a week for free. Kind of taking a bit of a sabbatical right now. Not much going on in the college world, but that will be kicking back up real soon. I'm aware of that. Hoff, why don't you say hi and introduce yourself to everybody, your first time on the YouTube channel?
Yeah, great to be here. I'm Josh. You can call me Hoff. It's my last name. Everyone has called me that since I was little. Yeah, I'm really excited to chip in on the mock draft. I've been following the college game mostly for the past few years, and this is it's kind of cool seeing these guys finally make it to the NFL. Yeah, it is cool. This is our favorite time of the year. I'm assuming yours as well, right? Oh yeah.
I mean, rookie draft season is so much fun. One caveat that we wanted to let you guys know about. We had Travis Hunter on this list. Hoff specifically had him on the list. You took him off because of some recent developments. Why don't you tell us what that is before we get started?
Sure. I had picked him in the mock we completed, and we're going to talk about today. It was announced that Travis Hunter is going to be participating in the combine as a cornerback. So if you were hoping to draft him as a wide receiver, that might have taken a hit today.
Yeah. Exactly. We're going to see, we'll see obviously how exactly that pans out. Just because he's going as a cornerback doesn't mean he's going to only be a defensive back in the NFL. Not really sure how it's going to work out at this point in time. But for today, we're just excluding him from this list because of that, with the thought process that maybe he is a defensive back only. And look, I know a lot of people are saying, oh, he should be a wide receiver. They make more money. Look, good defensive backs, they get paid too. So financially, I think he's going to be A-okay. But let's kick it off. Hoff, I kind of gave you the easy one, and I floated the 101 to you. I think it's safe to say this is the 101 across all platforms.
Yeah, and so far through our DR ADP, he's been the 101 in every pick. It's Ashton Jeanty. It's pretty much a gimme pick at this point, especially given the uncertainty at other positions. Running back seems to be that strong spot, and he is the best of the best this year at running back. Has had a great season at Boise, almost breaking Barry Sanders' rushing record, just missing out on that. And I know there are some concerns about him coming from Boise State, a smaller school, but some of his best games this year were against their toughest opponents, especially Oregon. I was watching his Oregon tape. He absolutely lit them up. He was very good against them. And just in general, he's an amazing running back, and I don't think you'll be disappointed with him at the 101.
for me, even if somehow I traded for the 101 and I had a quote unquote stacked running back room, I'm still taking Ashton Jeanty. I really don't care, who I have. This is a guy I want on my team. Now, obviously things could change, in a super flex league. Some people I feel are compelled to only draft a quarterback first overall. I don't think this is the class for that. We'll get into that in a little bit. But I mean, I brought up PFF. Some people kind of doo-doo all over PFF. I don't really know why. They have great stats. That's what I use PFF for. And let's see, 2,595 yards. He averaged 6.9 yards per carry, 29 touchdowns. So if he was going to Boise and his sophomore season, he put up 1,300 yards. If he had another 1,300-yard season, I can see people being skeptical about the strength schedule, all that BS. But 2,500 rushing yards, yeah, we're going to be just fine. So I'm going to move it on to the 102. And this is my current wide receiver one in the class. Obviously, a lot could change between now and the draft, and even after the draft. I took Tet McMillan from Arizona. Now, a lot of people, they have Luther Burden as their wide receiver one, and I do not fault anybody if you have these guys intermixed. I understand that. For me, Luther Burden, and the reason I like Tet McMillan more, Luther Burden, it seems that they need to scheme him a little bit more, and maybe that's just the way Missouri's offense works. But Tet McMillan, you do not need to scheme him to be productive. He is going to be productive. He would have been more productive if he had a little bit of better quarterback play. And Hoff, you watch a lot of film, you understand exactly what I'm saying. Yep. But it also showcased his ability to come back for underthrown balls. Yeah. And, route manipulation, stuff like that. He has size, bit of a slender frame, but we've seen guys, they bulk up when they get into the NFL. So right now, Tet McMillan is my 102. So we're going into pick 3, no quarterbacks yet. Who do you have at the 103?
I am continuing the non-quarterbacks. I'm going with Omarion Hampton.
Oh, yeah.
From North Carolina. I was watching his film. I didn't watch a lot of North Carolina this year, but I was very impressed with him watching his film. And the one thing that stood out to me, and it's how guys get on the field as running backs, he headhunts blocking. I mean, that guy, he has to enjoy it. The way he was looking out for guys to block, like on the backside away from the play, he would go block a guy. I don't know if it gave him some kind of rush, but it gave me a rush watching him take these DNs and linebackers down.
Yeah, and if you follow the channel, you know that I've been an Omarion Hampton fan for quite a while. Strong, physical, can move the pile. I think in a lot of other classes, if Ashton Jeanty weren't here, he would probably be the running back one for a lot of people. Some people, they're saying Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson. There might be some other guys that they would consider in there as well. But Omarion Hampton at the 103, I absolutely love it. Let's go to the 104. Let's see if we have our first quarterback going off the board, and we do not. I actually have Luther Burden the third at the 104. So this is my wide receiver 2 currently. Kind of mad. My first snipe of the draft here, I was hoping Omarion Hampton would fall to me at the 104. It did not. You actually ended up sniping me a bunch in this draft, to be perfectly honest with you, Hoff. But back to Omarion Hampton real quick. 1,600 yards. He averaged 5.9 yards a carry, 15 touchdowns. Absolutely fantastic. But Luther Burden, and look, I mean, the fall off between Tet McMillan and Luther Burden isn't substantial. And I know a lot of people have kind of been a little down on this wide receiver class. I get it. The combine in the NFL draft will obviously give us some better valuations on these guys, but I do like Luther Burden. Played primarily in the slot. Let's see what his slot snaps were. I am not seeing it here for some reason. I do not know why. Probably because I have it up for rushing instead of receiving. Good job, Mike. So he played 85.3% of his snaps in the slot last year, but only 12.9% of his snaps in the slot his first year, a career total of 60.1. So this just shows it was kind of out of necessity that I think Missouri used him the way that they did. Missouri, while an SEC school, not the biggest SEC school, so had to put their best playmaker against a weaker defensive back at the collegiate ranks. Still racked up only 676 yards this past year, but Missouri, Brady Cook, kind of is what it is. Still a fantastic wide receiver, and I'd be happy to get him here. Let's see. Do we have our first quarterback? This is a super flex mock. I should say half point tight end premium, 12 teams. Sorry, I forgot to mention that off the rip. But do we have our first quarterback going at the 105?
We do.
Oh,
Cam Ward, first quarterback off the board here tonight. Transferred up twice. So 3 years ago at Incarnate Word, no one had ever really heard of him. A few people have going back, but then he went to Washington State, started playing well at Wazoo, and then goes to Miami this past season, becomes a Heisman finalist behind 4,300 yards and 39 touchdowns. Oof. And he actually his most accurate year as well. He completed over 67% of his passes, which it helps when they had pretty good wide receivers as well. Probably the best receiving core he's worked with. So that always helps. But in general, I really like his style. He kind of reminds me of Jordan Love a little bit. I see it in there. I'm not saying they're apples to apples got players, but I kind of see that in his game, and I think his game translates really well to the pro level.
One thing too about Cam Ward, 18,000 career passing yards, only one season with double-digit interceptions, and that was in 2021 while still at Incarnate Ward, and he had 10. It's not like he had 20. Only 3 games this year under 300 yards passing, 208 against Florida State, 280 against Wake Forest, so still close, and then 190 the bowl game against Iowa State. He did not play that whole game, so maybe you want to throw that one away. Cam Ward is also my quarterback one right now. I'm a big Cam Ward fan, but let's keep it rolling. Maybe we got a little bit of a run here. That was also your second snipe of the night. Just want to throw that out there.
Keeping count.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Shedeur Sanders. Now, I like Shedeur Sanders, and when we talked about Travis Hunter previously, and Nate and I had scouted him for wide receivers, and we actually didn't rank him with our top 5 wide receivers currently because we weren't sure at that time of the video if he was going to do a defensive back, if he was going to do wide receiver. We weren't sure. Travis Hunter could have had better stats. There was a lot of times Shedeur Sanders held onto the ball just a couple seconds too long. If he would just let it rip, let your speedster go into there and get it. That being said, Shedeur Sanders, an extremely accurate quarterback, not the best runner, not the best scrambler, but good pocket presence, good pocket awareness, cool in the pocket, calm under pressure, and good pocket mobility. So he is athletic enough to move around, distributes the ball very well. One thing about Colorado, too, Shedeur Sanders, he put up a lot of yards. Not a good running football team. So there's a lot of times Shedeur Sanders had to bail his team out. He did. Didn't always come out on top, but still, he's got some poise. He has a decent arm. And depending on where he goes, he could be a day one starter in the NFL. I'm not saying that you're going to want to throw him into your lineup right away, but I think he's going to be a good guy to take, stash him on your bench, see what you could do with him. All right, and I believe this is a player from your favorite team. This is your favorite college team, right, Hoff?
That is correct.
Gross. Who do you have at the 107?
I've got Emeka Egbuka,
okay,
wide receiver. In my wide receiver rankings, I've got him at wide receiver 2, just above Luther Burden. So that it's kind of a coin flip for me. They were pretty closely valued as far as my grading went. He caught 9 touchdowns this year. He caught 23 throughout his career, 12.7 yards per catch. So that was down a little bit for him from a couple years ago, but also he has the most receiving yards of any Ohio State receiver ever. And he was never really the best wide receiver on any of those teams. He was just always there, always showing up, very consistent, good hands, good routes. And I think he's going to make some NFL quarterback and team very happy.
Pepcid Complete knows that food is one of the best parts of game day. That is, until heartburn strikes. Thankfully, just one chewable tablet of Pepcid Complete provides dual-action heartburn relief with an antacid that starts working instantly and an acid reducer that lasts all day. So you can stay focused on that second helping of chili without worrying about heartburn. All day based on 8-hour symptom relief studies during the day. Use product only as directed.
You know what's smart? Enjoying a fresh gourmet meal at home that you didn't have to cook. Meet Factor, your loophole in the laws of mealtime. Chef-crafted meals delivered with a tap, ready in just 2 minutes. You know what's even smarter? Treating yourself without cheating your goals. Factor is dietitian approved, chef prepared, and you plated. Pretty smart, huh? Refresh your routine and eat smart with Factor. Learn more at factormeals.com.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
To realize the future America needs, we understand what's needed from us. To face each threat head on. We've earned our place in the fight for our nation's future. We are Marines. We were made for this.
Yeah, I think the one thing I will say about Egbuka, and Nate had said when we did our wide receiver rankings, he could see him being one of the most pro-ready wide receivers in this class right now. I completely agree. He's going to be heralded as a slot wide receiver, 81.1% of his snaps in the slot last year. He can play outside as well. He's got a good frame on him. I like this pick a lot here at the 107. And as you can see, for a lot of people saying this isn't a good wide receiver class, we've had more wide receivers go off the board at this point than quarterbacks. So wide receiver is not the deficiency in this class. The strength of this class is obviously the running back position. We'll get into that a little bit more. So at 108, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take the first tight end off the board. And it's not just because I'm a Penn State fan. It's because I feel he is the best tight end in this class. And that's Penn State's Tyler Warren. I do want to say, yes, we did not mention when we did our top 5 tight ends, Tyler Warren is 25. Okay, there. It's been said. Since no one's talking about it, apparently he was in college for a while. Versatility. He could do everything. He can stretch the field. He could block. He could run the ball, line up in the Wildcat. He can even start a play as a center and catch a touchdown pass. Watch his game cut up against USC. I think he had over 200 yards receiving.
Oh, yeah.
In that game. But Tyler Warren is one of those guys continuing the legacy of Penn State tight ends. They used to be linebacker U when Paterno was there. Now they're tight end U. Keep your eyes open for whatever Penn State's doing in the tight end room. Over 1,200 yards receiving his senior year. And people are going to be like, oh, man, 1,200 yards receiving for a tight end is crazy. Part of that is because he is that good. The other part is the Penn State wide receiver room was that bad. Penn State wide receiving room should get better this next coming year. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Well, 108 in a tight end premium, I would even feel better. I'd feel fine taking him here in a non-tight end premium for what it's worth. So Tyler Warren at the 108. We're going to go to the 109 now. This was another snipe by you, I'd like to say. Who do you got for us?
Going back to the Ohio State well and getting Travion Henderson here. Honestly, as far as my pure grading goes, he's my running back 2, but Hampton has been going higher in our ADP, so that's why I selected him higher. Okay. But as far as grades go, Travion is higher. Anyways, just great hands, playmaker. You saw his speed against Texas on that screenplay at the end of the half. He's just an unreal player. There are some injury concerns, but the best thing to happen to Travion Henderson this year was Quinshon Judkins coming into the draft or coming to Columbus, because you got to see a fully healthy Travion Henderson for the first time in a while. And hopefully NFL scouts agree with me that I just thought he looked really good, really fresh and healthy, especially at the end of the year, because normally the past couple of seasons, that's kind of been when he's broken down, not contributed as much.
I like Travion Henderson. I think Travion Henderson would be better suited in a scheme like a Shanahan scheme, a McVay scheme, something like that, where he's not expected to be the primary ball carrier, but he's a guy that can really make the most with limited touches. There's a couple times, though, I noticed watching film on him, Ohio State's running out the clock against an inferior opponent, and they're running him up the gut. You got to you got to think that Ohio State has like a third string running back that they can do that with. That's not Travion Henderson's game. It's really not. But still, Travion Henderson, finishing off his collegiate career as a senior with 1,000-yard rushing season. So a lot of people were like, why did he come back for his senior year? This is why. One of the better pass catching backs in this class, in my opinion. I like him. I was also saying to Nate the one day, if you could combine Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins.
Oh gosh, yeah.
But I will say, I know you like him better than Omarion Hampton. For me, I think Omarion Hampton has the makings of a better pro than Travion Henderson. He projects to me as more of a 3-down back.
Yeah.
And that's not to discredit Travion Henderson at all. And at the 110, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take his teammate, a guy who I actually thought, you know what, Travion Henderson's leaving. Maybe Quinshon Judkins comes back for his senior year. He did not. 1,060 yards, 14 touchdowns, actually his worst season statistically as a collegiate athlete, despite having his best yards per carry, which is 5.5 yards per carry. So what I like about Quinshon Judkins, he's going to be the guy that is the thunder to the lightning. He's the thunder, Travion Henderson's the lightning, but make no mistake about it. With the ball in his hands, he can make a guy or two miss. He will physically knock you over. Also an above average receiver as well. That's not really his game. But the nice thing about him is if he's on the field in a pass situation in the NFL, he's not going to be a liability there by any means. I don't think. He's not as electric with the ball in his hands as Travion Henderson, but still, this is another guy of the two, Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, might have a safer floor than Travion Henderson, but a lower ceiling.
I can see that, yeah.
For sure. So that's my 110 pick, Quinshon Judkins. Hoff, who do you have at the 111?
111, I just leaned into the strength of the class. I went with Devin Neal.
Yes.
He, last year in the 24 draft, he was my favorite running back. Really? Coming out. And he didn't come out. Right. It was in that time where he hadn't declared yet, like Willie won't he, and he ended up staying another year. I think he could have been one of, if not the top running back coming out last year. But he stayed, and now he's fallen down the pecking order a little bit. That's less of a comment on him, more of a comment on the strength of this class, the other running backs that came out. So I wouldn't read into that too much. He's still a super impressive running back. The patience he has, the vision that he has, he almost always picks the right hole to run behind. When he was playing at Kansas, and I know the Big 12 is like a defense optional conference, but you still have to pick those holes, and he picked them and hit them pretty well.
He did. And if you want to watch some really exciting Devin Neal film, his game against Colorado, he had 37 carries for 207 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
He's not the most physical back in this class, I think, but extremely athletic, and he's pretty slippery and good vision as well for Devin Neal. I like Devin Neal a lot. Ready to round out this first round?
Let's do it.
All right. I'm going with Caleb Johnson from Iowa. Now, Caleb Johnson, my only real knock on him, I don't think he is the most explosive athlete in this class, more of kind of a grinder. And you're going to get that when you have a guy playing running back at Iowa and their 1950s style offense. I never want to really see anybody get fired, but I'd love to see a coach in there not named Ferentz just to see what could happen with this offense. This is a big program in the Big Ten. They can recruit. They have a loyal, rabid fan base, a lot of boosters. Still, Caleb Johnson, 1,535 yards in the season, 21 touchdowns. So Caleb Johnson, this guy, physical, can move the pile, kind of an upright runner. So he's going to have to get his pad level a little bit better. But I like Caleb Johnson a lot, kind of the shining star of Iowa's offense. And, when I'm watching cut-ups and film and stuff like that, and I hear things like Cade McNamara back to pass, I'm like, ugh. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Also very good. He's an above-average receiver as well. Not used a ton in that. Let me bring up his receiving stats right here. They have 22 catches for 190 yards. But, his average depth of target, okay, keep in mind, is -3. So most of the time, he's getting the ball behind the line of scrimmage, and he has to make something happen. A 100% contested catch percentage, Hoff.
It's pretty good.
That was only on one contested catch target, but still, hey, he did it. Okay, so
it's he's impressive to me just because, like you said, with Iowa's offense, you know what they're going to do. They are not going to surprise you at all, and he's still got that level of production.
Yeah, he's a guy, and I think, a lot of people think that he is one of the higher ranked running backs in this class. I can't say I disagree. There's just some other guys that I like a little bit more than him right now. But one thing that I'm trying to do is not get take lock with any of my guys. If I see a guy get much better draft position and much better draft capital, the landing spot is so juicy, I'll move guys around, and it's completely okay to do that. It's okay to change your mind when reality starts to set in and these guys get on an NFL roster. So I'm going to just roll back through, and then we'll do one last thing before we go. The 101, Ashton Jeanty, 102, Tet McMillan, 103, Omarion Hampton, 104, Luther Burden III, 105, Cam Ward, 106, Shador Sanders, 107, Emeka Egbuka. Did I say his first name right?
I think Emeka.
Perfect. 108, Tyler Warren, 109, Travion Henderson, 110, Quinshad Judkins, 111, Devin Neal, and 112, Caleb Johnson. Hoff, is there anybody else you just want to touch on before we talk about, or anyone else you just want to touch on before we head out that wasn't in this first round that you just really like, that you want us to kind of keep our eyes on?
Since it was a TE tight end premium draft, I would keep your eye on Colston Loveland, Harold Fannin, and just I wouldn't say that they would creep into the first round, but I would say early two, maybe early to mid.
Taylor.
Mason Taylor is starting to get some more talk, as an Elijah Royho just tore up the Senior Bowl as well. If we're going to stay on the tight ends, those would be my tight ends to focus on, and I wouldn't necessarily target one above the rest. They're kind of like in a similar tier for me. So if you miss out on one, it might be time to grab one of the others.
Okay. There's a couple guys I think you're going to get in the second and third round of your draft. Guys like Raheem Sanders kind of reinvented himself at South Carolina this year, slimmed down a little bit. Damian Martinez, I've heard a lot of buzz about him, running back from Miami. If you see people talking about Donovan Edwards from Michigan, please disregard that. I don't think he's very good. I'm a big Trey Harris fan, wide receiver from Ole Miss. He's a great boundary wide receiver. Xavier Restrepo, wide receiver from Miami. If he goes, there's a lot of talk about the Rams moving on from Cooper Kupp. If Xavier Restrepo goes to the Rams and they move on from Cooper Kupp, please, by all means, draft him. And then tight end wise, you pretty much hit it all on the head right there. I do want to say a guy who's probably going to be a day 3 pick because he didn't have a good senior season at Georgia. That's tight end Ben Urasek. I've been on him for a while now. He can do everything. He just looks like a pro to me. One of those guys. He'll probably be a tight end 2 on the team. Good if their starting tight end gets injured, or a guy that could kind of ascend. I mean, look, not saying this is going to happen, but a guy like Tucker Kraft was not drafted to be the tight end 1 in Green Bay. Was supposed to be Luke Musgrave, and he's been banged up, and then Tucker Kraft ascended. Don't want to see anybody get hurt, but I could see that kind of being a thing for Ben Urasek there. So that's all we got. Hoff, thank you so much for coming on, hopping on the channel.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do this again soon. Maybe next time we could do 2 rounds. How's that sound?
Ooh, I like it.
All right, very good. So until next time, everybody, thank you for watching and listening. For Hoff, I'm Mike. We'll see you later.